Whether it is tempting or not, it is definitely impossible to attempt to say something which can be considered truth. One can say things that are true or that have truth in them, but we know so little of our condition in this life that finding the truth is pretty much an infinitely uphill struggle. The influential French writer Georges Bataille famously stated, "I believe that truth has only one face, that of a violent contradiction." And to my mind, this is the closest we can hope to get in our understanding of truth. Of course, there are many reasons why that is, reasons that have been nailed to the hallways of many great minds. But in the end of it, beneath the surface of thought, there remains a great abyss. One of these great minds was the Argentinian writer Jorge Luis Borges. Borges was an Argentinian writer, poet, essayist, and literary critic whose work became very influential in the culture of postmodernism. He is considered to be one of the most important figures in 20th century literature and was dubbed as the most important Spanish writer since Cervantes, though he himself would disagree. Taking a lot from his Spaniard ancestor, Borges innovatively blended fiction with essayistic and philosophical reflection. His concern with the human condition runs deep within his works, and his stories have inspired philosophers and artists all over the globe. One famous story of his was used to illustrate the premise in Jean Baudrillard's essay Simulacra and Simulation. I will put a link in the description to this short story. Borges manages to create a beautiful sense of wonderment and mystery heavily loaded with the weight of this lack of knowing. In this essay, I'd like to start by talking about one of these short stories, Inferno 132. The story itself goes as follows. From the twilight of day till the twilight of evening, a leopard, in the last years of the 13th century, would see some wooden planks, some vertical iron bars, men and women who changed, a wall, and perhaps a stone gutter filled with dry leaves. He did not know, could not know, that he longed for love and cruelty, and the hot pleasure of tearing things up to pieces, and the wind carrying the scent of a deer. But something suffocated and rebelled within him, and God spoke to him in a dream. "You live and will die in this prison, so that a man I know of may see you a certain number of times, and not forget you, and place your figure and symbol in a poem, which has its precise place in the scheme of the universe. You suffer captivity, but you will have given a word to the poem." God, in the dream, illuminated the animal's brutishness, and the animal understood these reasons and accepted his destiny. But when he awoke, there was in him only an obscure resignation, a valorous ignorance, for the machinery of the world is much too complex for the simplicity of a beast. Years later, Dante was dying in Ravenna, as unjustified and as lonely as any other man. In a dream, God declared to him the secret purpose of his life and work. Dante, in wonderment, knew at last who and what he was, and blessed the bitterness of his life. Tradition relates that upon waking, he felt that he had received and lost an infinite thing, something that he would not be able to recuperate or even glimpse, for the machinery of the world is much too complex for the simplicity of men. The title of the story refers to a single line from Dante's first volume of the Divina Commedia, the Inferno. The line is within the very first canto of the Inferno, and so it would be apt to introduce the way the Commedia starts, as it will be of use to us in this essay. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Dante, who is also the main character of his own poem, has lost all meaning, and finds himself in the darkness. He then goes on to say the line to which Borges refers to in the title of this short story. "And lo, almost where the ascent began, a leopard light and swift exceedingly, which with a spotted skin was covered over, and never moved she from before my face." This is the moment in the Commedia that is referred to by God in Borges' story, where Dante uses the leopard as a symbol. Many have interpreted the image of the leopard as a symbol of sensual love, a powerful distracting force whose beauty is almost devouring. It's an interesting thought, but not too relevant to Borges' story or to what we're talking about. We must also keep in mind some things here. Dante was a Catholic, writing in the 14th century, whilst Borges, although raised as a Catholic, was widely considered as being agnostic, in the sense that he was fascinated with the mysticism of religion and with the questions it attempted to answer, but was never really convinced with these answers. But one thing is certain, he loved Dante, and to him the Commedia was the greatest work of literature. In Borges in Italy, from a compilation of essays in a collection called Borges in Context, Robert S. C. Gordon makes two very interesting points. One being that according to Borges, the Commedia was a dream. And two, that Dante is above all an anti-realist and a volcanically creative magician. To Borges, as we can see in his own story itself, dreams offered a certain clarity to the fog of reality, and we can see this very clearly even in his love for Cervantes' Don Quixote. To return to the story itself, in Inferno 132, Borges portrays a man as the animal and nothing else. The world is as exceedingly complex for man as it is for the leopard. There is no difference. In other terms, there is nothing special about us. To some extent, we all know this, but we live ignoring it because it is easier. For in the light of the little that we know about our universe, we are in no position to determine our greatness, yet we do so all the time. In an interview with William F. Buckley on Firing Line, after being asked to elaborate on the fact that he had just said that all writers should enjoy writing, Borges refrains from doing so and instead says, "When one talks, one falls into sweeping statements, no?" I find this to be something Borges is very aware of in his writing. His sweeping statements tend to serve as an eraser of all other sweeping statements. Yet somehow they bear no arrogance, but a gentle sense of acceptance of fate. In reply to a question where he was asked whether he would accept God, not as a personal God, but as concepts of truth and ethics, Borges said, "What about truth? I don't know. It would be very strange for us to be able to understand it." In one of my short stories, I speak about how a leopard was brought to Florence in Dante's time, and that Dante, like any citizen of Florence, must have seen that leopard, and so he put a leopard into the first canto of the Inferno. In my story, Inferno 132, I imagine that in a dream the leopard is told it has been created so that Dante can see it and use it in his poem. The leopard understands that in the dream, but when he awakens, naturally, how could he understand that he exists only so a man could write a poem and use him in it? The same question applies to us, of course. What if there is some point to all of this? And let's say someone explains this to us and explains the meaning of everything. Would we even make sense of it? I wouldn't even dare to ask whether or not we would like it, because that would be a step further. Borges suggests that even if unveiled, the mystery seems to become even more intangible and complicated. In his book Literary Cynics, Borges, Beckett, Coetzee, Arthur Rose suggests that these three writers, although very different in style and approach, share the common distrust of authoritative narrative forms and a focus on the paradoxes of language and identity. Although I've never read Coetzee and I can't comment about him, this explains the perhaps experimental style of Beckett and Borges, as they try to maneuver their way out of creating works that fall into more sweeping statements. Their awareness of the trap of language seems to have been such a big part of who they were, that Borges only wrote short stories, and Beckett's work became increasingly shorter over the course of his career, until his last play was only about 30 seconds. Nonetheless, it is natural that anybody, especially such a great mind, would attempt to tie some knots about our existence. Borges has a habit of stripping down the human being and forcing us to look into this void. In a short story entitled In Memoriam JFK, he talks about the bullet that killed JFK and animates it as if it was possessed by a spirit that has undergone metempsychosis, the concept of the soul's transmigration at death. He goes on to say that this spirit featured prominently in different forms and embodiments throughout similar historical accounts. Some of these accounts, according to Borges, are, for instance, Marcus Brutus as a character under Shakespeare's hand. It doesn't even refer to the real Marcus Brutus here. The nails in the body of Christ and the stone that killed Abel, and now, of course, the bullet that killed JFK. To Borges, it is as if not even the soul is in any way exclusive to the human, or even the animal for that reason. In Inferno 132, he describes the universe as a fabric, a complicated and precise order within which all things are intimately connected, regardless how big or how small. In this interconnectedness, there is a certain calming, mystical harmony, which is truly beautiful.